Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The first rays of dawn painted the room with muted warmth, sneaking through the blind's narrow gaps, slicing the dim apartment. As the alarm clock sounded its relentless morning call, a hand emerged from the covers, successfully silencing the intruding noise. She shifted in her bed, her mind alert, reflecting on the pivotal moment that lay ahead. This day symbolized the end of a lengthy personal journey, a voyage that had been both emotional and transformative. Chestnut locks, still wild from sleep, obscured her vision as she gazed at the wardrobe a few feet away. Within, a sensible gray dress and a prim white cardigan hung, awaiting their debut. Underneath, a pair of straightforward black heels completed the ensemble. An audibly hushed, "It's time," reverberated within the quiet walls of the room. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror revealed a visage that, although altered by the soothing effects of hormone therapy over the past half year, was still recognizably Colin's own. That name felt increasingly distant each day, like a character from a half-forgotten novel. The shower ran hot, steam filling the small bathroom. The routine was methodical, practiced countless times but never publicly performed. The weight of anticipation made each movement deliberate, a final dress rehearsal before the curtain rose. 40 minutes later, dressed in male attire for what was planned to be the final time, a leather messenger bag was carefully packed. Inside went hormone medication in its prescription bottle, a makeup kit containing only the essentials, the gray dress carefully folded, the white cardigan, and those sensible black pumps wrapped in tissue paper. The drive to work felt surreal, traffic moving in its usual pattern while inside the car, a transformation was about to unfold. The office parking lot appeared unchanged. Same cars, same building, same security guard waving from his booth. Yet everything felt different. "Morning," came the greeting to the security guard, voice pitched slightly higher than usual, a practice that had become second nature over recent months. The office was quiet at 7:30 a.m., exactly as planned. Most colleagues wouldn't arrive for another hour, providing precious time alone. The bathroom at the far end of the floor, the one rarely used, became a sanctuary of transformation. Inside the stall, male clothing came off piece by piece. The gray dress slipped over shoulders that had become less broad with time. The white cardigan provided both warmth and coverage. The pumps, though not particularly high, offered a feminine posture that had been practiced for months around the apartment. Makeup application was minimal but effective. Foundation to smooth, mascara to accentuate, lip color to define. Brown hair, grown out over the past year and recently trimmed into a feminine style, framed the face that looked back from the compact mirror. Each step of this process had been rehearsed countless times at home, but performing it in the office bathroom carried an electricity of finality. This wasn't practice anymore. This was life. From the messenger bag came a pill case, one small pill taken with water from the bathroom sink, part of a regimen that had already brought subtle changes, with more to come. The moment felt ceremonial. A deep breath, and then the phone came out. A text message to the supervisor, Martha, requested a brief private meeting. The response came quickly. "My office in 10. 10 minutes to wait. 10 minutes to breathe. 10 minutes to exist in this liminal space between what was and what would be. A final check in the mirror. The person staring back was Catherine. Not Colin pretending to be Catherine, but Catherine herself. The brown hair fell in gentle waves past the shoulders. The gray dress fit properly, professional and understated, The white cardigan added a touch of softness. The reflection was right in a way that had never felt possible before. The walk to Martha's office required passing through the main workspace. By now, a few early arrivals had settled at their desks. Their double takes were expected, their wide eyes and paused coffee cups anticipated. "Good morning," Catherine said to a colleague whose name escaped her in the moment of anxiety. Her voice was practiced, not artificially high, but authentically her own, discovered through months of vocal training. Martha's office door was closed. A knock, a pause, and then Catherine turned the handle. The door opened to reveal not just Martha, but 5 colleagues standing in a semicircle. For one terrible moment, fear crashed down like a wave. Had this been a setup? A public humiliation? But then Martha stepped forward, a gentle smile spreading across her face. In her hands was a modest bouquet of flowers, primarily whites and purples. Behind her, the others wore expressions not of judgment, but of genuine warmth. "Catherine," Martha said, the name falling naturally from her lips. "We wanted to welcome you properly on your first day." The world stopped for a moment. These people knew. They'd been told. They were here not to gawk, but to support. "How did you—" Catherine began, voice catching slightly. "You mentioned it to HR last month," Martha explained. "We wanted to respect your privacy, but also let you know you wouldn't be walking this path alone." Ted from accounting stepped forward, extending his hand.
"It's nice to meet you, Catherine."
One by one, each colleague offered similar sentiments. Patricia from marketing, who had always been politely distant with Colin, gave Catherine a brief but genuine hug. "The dress is perfect," she whispered. "Very professional." Robert from IT smiled broadly. "Your transition documents are all updated in the system," he said. "Your email, your building pass, everything." The flowers were placed in Catherine's hands, tulips and lilacs, she now recognized. Thank you," Catherine managed, overwhelming emotions threatening to spill over. "I was prepared for so many scenarios, but not this one." Martha gestured toward the small conference room across the hall. "We've got coffee and some breakfast, if you'd like to join us before the day starts properly." The morning passed in a blur of small kindnesses. Colleagues who arrived later sometimes did double takes, but word had evidently spread. Many approached with congratulations, some with questions asked respectfully, others simply carrying on as if nothing had changed, which, in its way, was its own form of acceptance. By lunchtime, Catherine sat at her desk, the earlier anxiety having transformed into a steady, warm certainty. Her computer screen reflected a face that finally matched the person inside. Brown hair tucked behind one ear, subtle makeup enhancing rather than masking. The office phone rang. Catherine answered with her new name, the syllables flowing naturally now. "Catherine speaking. How may I help you?" The journey. 6 months earlier, Colin had sat nervously in Dr. Whitman's office, fidgeting with the sleeve of a blue button-down shirt. "I've made my decision," he had said, voice low and uncertain. "I want to transition, fully." Dr. Whitman, a therapist specializing in gender issues, had nodded thoughtfully. "Tell me what brought you to this decision." "Living half in, half out isn't working anymore. I'm Catherine everywhere except work, except with my parents. The compartmentalizing is exhausting me." Colin ran fingers through short brown hair, a gesture that would become less frequent as it grew longer in the months to come. I need congruence. They had discussed the professional implications, the medical aspects, the social considerations. By the end of that session, a plan had formed, a timeline for Colin to become Catherine in all aspects of life. The first step had been medical. Hormone therapy began cautiously, with regular blood tests and check-ins. The changes were subtle at first, skin softening, emotional landscape shifting, fat redistributing gradually across the body. The second step had been legal. Name change paperwork filed and processed. Identity documents updated one by one. Driver's license, social security, bank accounts. The third step had been practical. Voice training with a specialist, twice weekly. Walking, sitting, gesturing. The physical vocabulary of gender relearned through conscious practice until it became natural. Throughout it all, Dr. Whitman provided counsel, a steady presence as Colin navigated the disappearance of himself and the emergence of Catherine. You're not losing yourself, Dr. Whitman had corrected during one particularly emotional session. You're finding yourself. The person you've been pretending to be is falling away. 2 months before the workplace transition, Colin had met with human resources, still dressed in male attire, but with increasingly undeniable changes. Longer brown hair, softer features, a different presence.
We want to support you,
the HR director had assured him.
Let us know what you need from us to make this transition smooth.
What Colin hadn't expected was that HR would work quietly with his immediate team to prepare them, to educate them, to ensure that Catherine's first day would be met with understanding rather than confusion. 1 month before, Colin had visited a department store with his friend Elena, who had been the first person he'd told about his gender identity years earlier. The gray dress, Elena had suggested, pulling it from the rack. It's professional, not flashy, but still feminine. You want people focusing on you, not on some wild outfit. The white cardigan had been Colin's choice. Something to hide behind. Just a little, if courage wavered. The black pumps were a compromise. Elena had pushed for something more stylish, but Colin insisted on comfort for the first day.
You'll be on your feet enough without tottering around in stilettos, he had reasoned. Elena had smiled, already thinking like a practical woman. The night before the transition day, Colin had laid everything out on the bed. The dress, the cardigan, the shoes, the makeup carefully selected for a natural look, the medication that had been transforming his body gradually for months. Sleep had come fitfully, dreams blending with anxieties, spinning possibilities both wonderful and terrible for the day ahead. And then morning had arrived, and with it, the final day of Colin's existence. Chat. The meetings. Catherine's first proper meeting as herself came at 2 p.m. that afternoon. The marketing team gathered in the conference room to discuss the upcoming product launch. She arrived early, selecting a seat that wasn't too prominent, but also not hidden away in a corner. As others filtered in, each interaction became a tiny affirmation. Some colleagues who hadn't been part of the morning welcome approached with quiet words of support. The brown hair suits you, said Michael from graphic design. I always thought you should grow it out. Diana, the project manager who had worked with Colin for 3 years, sat beside Catherine with easy familiarity. I like the cardigan, she noted. White looks good on you. When Martha called the meeting to order, she did so without ceremony or special attention. Let's review where we stand on the launch materials. Catherine, can you update us on the copy revisions? The moment arrived, speaking professionally as Catherine for the first time. She opened her folder, cleared her throat, and began. The revised taglines are on page 3 of your packets. We've shifted the emphasis from technical specifications to user benefits, as discussed last week.
Her voice held steady. The content of her work remained unchanged. The quality, the insights, the contributions were the same as they had always been. Only the package they came in had transformed. Questions were directed to her with her correct name. Responses came with growing confidence. By the meeting's end, Catherine realized no one was focusing on her appearance or her voice. They were engaged with her ideas, just as they had been with Colin's. As the team gathered their materials to leave, Martha caught Catherine's eye. "Good work today. The client's going to love those revisions." Just work. Normal, everyday work. The profound ordinariness of it brought unexpected emotion. Later that afternoon, Catherine found herself alone in the break room with Robert from IT, who had been part of the morning welcome committee.
"How's it going so far?"
he asked, keeping his voice casual as he poured coffee. Catherine considered the question while selecting a tea bag. "Better than I expected. Much better."
"Good."
Robert nodded.
"Listen, there's something I should probably tell you. When HR approached us about your transition, they wanted volunteers to form a small support group, people who would help ease the way."
Catherine paused, tea bag suspended over her cup.
"You volunteered?"
"We all did. Martha, Patricia, Ted, me, and Jennifer. But here's the thing. We had to turn people away. More folks wanted to be part of your welcome than we had space for in Martha's office." The tea bag dropped from Catherine's fingers into the hot water, a small splash marking the impact.
"Really?"
Robert smiled.
"Really? Turns out people actually like you, Catherine. Who knew?"
A laugh escaped her. Genuine, unguarded. "Certainly not me." "Well, get used to it. Oh, and fair warning. The development team is planning to take you out for drinks after work on Friday. Their treat. Consider it your official welcome from the Code Monkeys." The invitation hung in the air like a promise. Normal life continuing, workplace friendships extending from Colin to Catherine without rupture. "I'd like that," she said, stirring her tea. "I'd like that very much." Marchat, the adjustments. Not everything was simple, of course. By mid-afternoon, Catherine encountered her first real friction when Alan from sales stopped abruptly by her desk, confusion evident on his face.
"Colin?"
he asked, brow furrowed. Catherine corrected him gently. "Catherine, actually, I've transitioned." Alan's confusion didn't clear. "Transitioned?" "I'm a woman now," Catherine explained, keeping her voice even. "I'm the same person you've worked with, just living authentically as female." Alan stared for an uncomfortable moment, then nodded stiffly. "Right. I needed the Northridge numbers, but I'll email you instead." He retreated hastily, leaving Catherine with a small, expected ache. She had prepared for these moments, had discussed strategies with Dr. Whitman. Not everyone would understand immediately. Some never would. She turned back to her computer, refocused on her work, and tried not to dwell on the interaction. 10 minutes later, an email notification appeared. From Alan, requesting the Northridge numbers as promised. Professional, direct, without personal comment. A small victory in its normalcy. The women's restroom presented another adjustment. Catherine had considered this practical matter extensively, had even practiced her timing to use facilities when they were likely empty during these first awkward days. Her first venture there came late afternoon. She pushed the door open tentatively, found the space empty, and felt a momentary relief. Using the stall, washing her hands, checking her appearance in the mirror, all ordinary actions that carried extraordinary weight. As she applied a touch of lip color, the door opened. Patricia from marketing entered, nodded casually at Catherine, and went about her business. No drama, no confrontation, no discomfort. Just two women sharing a space designed for them. "Your lipstick shade is perfect with your complexion," Patricia remarked as she washed her hands. "What is it?" "Rose Whisper," Catherine answered, surprised by the ordinary feminine interaction. "Suits you. Goes well with the brown hair, too." Patricia dried her hands. "We should grab coffee sometime next week. I'd love to hear how the Eastridge campaign is developing." An invitation to normal workplace friendship, offered without fanfare. Catherine smiled. "I'd enjoy that." By day's end, Catherine gathered her belongings, including the now empty messenger bag that had carried her male clothes that morning. Those clothes remained folded in her desk drawer, a backup she hadn't needed. Martha stopped by as Catherine was shutting down her computer. "How was the first day?" Catherine considered the question, thinking through the day's events, the welcome she hadn't expected, the ordinary meetings, the few awkward moments, the many easy ones. "Surreal," she admitted. "But in a good way. Like I've been holding my breath for years and finally started breathing normally." Martha nodded. "Change is always adjustment. But you seemed right today. More present somehow." "I felt more present," Catherine acknowledged. "Less energy spent on pretending." "Well," Martha said, patting Catherine's desk. "Welcome aboard, officially. Though you've been here all along, haven't you?" The observation carried weight. Recognition that Catherine wasn't a new employee, but the authentic version of the person they'd always known. "Thank you," Catherine said, "for everything today." "We did very little," Martha replied. "You did the hard part, the brave part." The office had mostly emptied when Catherine finally gathered her courage to walk out the main doors. The security guard, the same one who had greeted her as Colin that morning, looked up as she approached. "Evening, miss," he said. Then recognition dawned. "Oh, evening, Catherine." Word had reached even the building staff. Catherine smiled. "Good evening, Frank. See you tomorrow." "Looking forward to it," the guard replied with genuine warmth. The parking lot was dimmer now, evening settling over the city. Catherine's car waited in the same spot where Colin had parked it that morning. She unlocked it, slid into the driver's seat, and sat for a moment in the quiet. The person who had arrived wasn't the person now leaving. Yet continuity remained. Same skills, same memories, same contributions to the company. Only the wrapper had changed, allowing the authentic core to emerge. The drive home felt different. Traffic flowed as usual, but Catherine moved through it with a new sense of congruence. No more double life. No more compartmentalization. Just her, complete and whole, navigating her world. The evening. The apartment welcomed Catherine with familiar silence. She set down her bag, kicked off the black pumps with relief, and padded in stockinged feet to the kitchen. The routine was ordinary. Kettle filled, stove lit, mug prepared with a tea bag. While waiting for the water to boil, she checked her phone. Messages had accumulated throughout the day. Friends who knew about her workplace transition checking in, her therapist sending a brief note of support, and an unexpected text from her younger sister. "Mom called. Apparently your boss phoned her as your emergency contact to confirm your name change in the system. She's freaking out. Call me." Reality crashed back. Catherine's parents had been informed of her transition months ago, but had responded with what they called patient skepticism, a belief that this was a phase
an experiment, a mistake that their child would eventually correct. The kettle whistled. Catherine poured water over the tea bag, watching the dark color spread through the hot water like a slow-motion cloud. She picked up the phone and dialed her sister. "Hey," came the immediate answer. "How was the big day?" "Surprisingly good," Catherine said, cradling the warm mug. "Work was supportive, but Mom?" "Yeah," her sister sighed. "She got the call and immediately phoned Dad at work, then me. She's convinced you're having some kind of breakdown." Catherine sank onto the couch, still in her gray dress and white cardigan. "It's been 6 months of therapy, 3 months of hormones, and I legally changed my name 2 months ago. This shouldn't be a surprise to her." "I think she was hoping you wouldn't actually go through with it," her sister said. "Like, as long as you were just dressing up at home or whatever, she could pretend it wasn't real." The tea was still too hot to drink. Catherine set it on the coffee table. "But now it's official. Work knows. Medical records, legal documents, everything says Catherine now." "She wants to come visit. She mentioned something about an intervention." Catherine closed her eyes, feeling the day's triumph tarnish slightly. "An intervention, like I'm on drugs or in a cult." "I talked her down from that, at least temporarily. Told her if she shows up uninvited with that attitude, she'll just damage your relationship permanently." "Thank you," Catherine said softly. "You've been amazing through all this." "Hey, I always wanted a sister," her sister replied with a small laugh. "Though I'd have preferred the traditional method of getting one." The joke landed gently, a moment of lightness in the serious conversation. Catherine smiled despite herself. "What should I do about Mom?" she asked. "Give her time. Maybe send her some photos. Let her see that you're still you, just the right version of you." "Photos?" Catherine considered. "Maybe." After the call ended, Catherine sat with her cooling tea, considering the contrast between her workplace reception and her family's ongoing struggle. The people who knew her professionally had adapted more readily than the people who had known her since birth. Perhaps it was easier for colleagues. They knew her for her work, her contributions, her professional self. Family knew the history, carried expectations formed from earliest childhood, held on to the person they thought they knew. Catherine finished her tea and rose from the couch. The day had been long, emotionally complex. She moved to the bathroom, removed the makeup that had been applied so carefully that morning, and changed into comfortable pajamas. Before sleep, she stood before the full-length mirror on her closet door. The gray dress and white cardigan hung nearby, ready for another day. The person in the reflection was neither fully Colin nor completely the Catherine she would become with time. She existed in the beautiful middle space of becoming. "Good job today," she told her reflection, brown hair now pulled back in a simple ponytail. "One day down, a lifetime to go." She slept deeply that night, more soundly than she had in years. The next steps. Morning arrived with less ceremony than the previous day. Catherine woke, performed her now established routine, and selected a navy blue skirt with a cream-colored blouse. The white cardigan from yesterday completed the outfit, a small thread of continuity. The drive to work carried none of the previous day's anxiety. The security guard waved her through with a friendly smile and her correct name. The office received her as if she had always been Catherine. At her desk, the messenger bag that had once carried her female clothes now held ordinary work items: laptop, notebook, lunch container. The male clothes remained untouched in her drawer, increasingly unnecessary as each successful day passed. Mid-morning,
Catherine's phone chimed with a text message from an unknown number. Opening it revealed a photo of a vase filled with tulips and lilacs, the same flowers she had received the previous day, sitting on what appeared to be a kitchen table. The message below read, "Thought you might like some for home, too. Delivery coming at noon. Martha and the welcome crew." The simple kindness brought unexpected emotion. These people, colleagues she had known professionally for years but never considered close friends, had extended themselves beyond workplace courtesy into genuine care. When the flower delivery arrived at reception, Catherine found herself surrounded by well-wishers as she carried the vase to her desk. The office had fully embraced her, faster and more completely than she had dared hope. Lunch brought another step forward. Catherine had planned to eat at her desk, still navigating the social aspects of her transition, but Diana from the marketing team appeared at her cubicle. "A bunch of us are heading to that new salad place. Join us?" The invitation presented a choice: continue easing in gradually or dive into normal social interaction. Catherine chose the latter, gathering her purse and joining the group of 5 women heading out. The conversation flowed naturally as they walked the 3 blocks to the restaurant. Work projects, weekend plans, complaints about the office coffee. Catherine contributed when appropriate, listened actively, found herself relaxing into the feminine social dynamic that had previously been observed only from the outside. At the restaurant, bathroom logistics presented themselves again. The women naturally headed to the restroom together after placing their orders, a social ritual Catherine had witnessed but never participated in. "Coming, Catherine?" asked Jennifer from accounting. A moment of decision. Step fully into this aspect of female socialization or make an excuse. Catherine nodded and followed. Inside the restroom, the interaction remained ordinary. Hand-washing, brief makeup checks, continued conversation about an upcoming company event. Catherine found herself included without question, her presence neither remarkable nor awkward. Back at the table, during lunch itself, the conversation eventually turned to more personal matters. "So," Diana began carefully, "is it okay if we ask questions about your transition? Only if you're comfortable, of course." Catherine took a sip of water, considering. "I don't mind some questions. What would you like to know?" "How long have you known?" asked Patricia. "That I'm a woman?" Catherine smiled slightly. "Forever, in some ways. Consciously, since college. But I spent years convinced I could just ignore it, push it down, live as male, and be content enough." "What changed?" Jennifer inquired. Catherine adjusted her white cardigan, a now familiar, comforting gesture. "Exhaustion, honestly. Maintaining that division between who I appeared to be and who I am became too draining. I realized I could either transition or spend my life depressed and fragmented." The women nodded, expressions thoughtful rather than judgmental. "The brown hair," Diana said. "Was that always how you pictured yourself?" Catherine touched her hair, styled simply for work. "Yes, actually. When I would imagine myself correctly, this is always how I saw my hair. It's strange what details stick in our self-image." Lunch continued, questions arising organically but respectfully. Catherine answered what felt comfortable, deflected what didn't, and found herself enjoying the genuine curiosity untainted by voyeurism. When they returned to the office, Catherine felt a shift in her comfort level, a step further into belonging, into being accepted not just as a colleague, but as a woman among women. The afternoon brought work challenges that had nothing to do with gender, a client making last-minute demands, a technical issue with the project management software. A deadline moved up unexpectedly. Catherine tackled each problem with professional focus. The ordinary stress of work replacing the extraordinary stress of transition, if only temporarily. By day's end, as she prepared to leave, Martha stopped by her desk again. "You seem more settled today," she observed. Catherine nodded. "It feels more normal already, less like I'm performing and more like I'm just existing." "Good," Martha smiled. "By the way, HR asked me to check if you need anything further to make things easier. Any concerns that have come up?" Catherine thought for a moment. "Nothing specific. Everyone's been remarkably supportive." "Almost everyone," Martha corrected gently. "I noticed Alan seems uncomfortable. Do you want me to speak with him?" The observation surprised Catherine. She hadn't realized Martha had noticed the sales manager's awkwardness. "No, that's okay. He's entitled to his adjustment period. As long as he remains professional, I can handle a little discomfort." Martha nodded approvingly. "Very gracious. But the offer stands if anything changes. We want this to work, Catherine. Not just for company policy or inclusivity metrics, but for you, personally." "Thank you," Catherine said simply, the words inadequate for the support she felt. On the drive home, Catherine's phone rang through the car's Bluetooth system. Her sister's name appeared on the dashboard display. "Hey," Catherine answered. "Everything okay?" "Mom's calmer today," her sister reported. "I showed her your LinkedIn profile picture. Hope that was okay. And I think seeing you looking so professional and put together helped." "That's good," Catherine said, navigating through traffic. "She asked if you were coming to Dad's birthday dinner next month." The question hung in the air between them. Family gatherings had been avoided during the transition period, a mutual agreement to give everyone time to adjust. "Do you think I should?" Catherine asked. "I think," her sister said carefully, "that it might be good. Rip the bandage off, you know? Let them see you, the real you. They'll adjust faster if they're not just imagining what you look like now." Catherine considered this as she turned onto her street. "I'll think about it. The gray dress might work for that. Conservative, professional. Or maybe something with a bit more color? You don't have to dress like you're going to a funeral just to make them comfortable." The suggestion made Catherine laugh. "Baby steps. Gray dress for the first family gathering, color for the second." "Fair enough," her sister conceded. "Let me know what you decide." That evening, Catherine found herself contemplating the future stretches that still remained. Family events, old friends she hadn't seen since transitioning, future dating prospects. Each would present its own challenges, its own adjustments. But the success of these first days at work had provided something crucial, evidence that acceptance was possible, that life could continue and even improve, that the exhausting division between inner self and outer presentation could heal. Catherine opened her laptop and navigated to her email. A message to her parents began to form, measured, loving, but firm. She would attend her father's birthday dinner. She would come as herself. Catherine, their daughter, in a modest gray dress and white cardigan, with her brown hair styled simply. Their adjustment would be harder than her colleagues, but it too would come with time. And if it didn't, she would build a family of choice from the people who had demonstrated they could love her authentically. Her sister, her supportive friends, and perhaps even the unexpected allies she had found at work. As she finished the email, Catherine felt the fullness of her decision to transition. The road ahead still contained challenges, but she would walk it as her complete self. No more fragments, no more masks, no more exhausting divisions. Just Catherine, moving forward into the life that had always been waiting for her.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!